So I'm Caleb. Obviously, I'm a senior. This fall, I'm going to Shippensburg University for communications, specifically going into broadcasting, which is why I picked a video like this. Kind of dabbling some more into the video. So for my service, I did 2 murals and I helped clean for an older lady, clean out her basement and her garage. So you can see as it's playing right now, I did 1 mural for Mr. Tolato and the Fame musical this spring. Um, and I basically painted Fame real big, and then I also did a phoenix in the corner. And this got hung above the stage. So some of the issues that I have with this is that working with Mr. Tolato, he has to work with the Weary Arts Group, which means I'm going through basically 3 different people, and it takes a lot longer for my ideas to get approved and for everything to kind of work its way down the line. So I had about 3 months to get my service hours done, and I only had about a week to knock out this specific mural just because of the time crunch between when materials came in and when I got approval from Mr. Toledo with his communication that happened behind the scenes. And then additionally, just time it took for me to paint. I had about a week until the musical was going on. So I did this in about 2 days. About 6 or 7 hours went into this mural. I stayed after one day to get the Fame text done, and then or during school rather, I did the Phoenix. Additionally, I did the mural in the stairwell for Miss Alvarez. That was a very similar thing where I talked to her, and then she had to talk to Dr. Lowe, and then I also had to talk to the budgeting team to get my materials in. And it took me again about, instead of the 3 month period that I had to work, I took about 2 months in the planning and then about a month to actually paint. So there's some issues that kind of come up. Obviously, this can happen in the rest of the world. Kind of working through a whole line of people instead of just myself. It's kind of some issues that I see that's very applicable to the real world. And then additionally, when I was cleaning for Mrs. Gately, that was the older woman that I was working with, I could only clean and help out with my service hours on A days. So working my schedule around her schedule was quite challenging to find days that actually worked for us. So this is how I kind of got my hours in, and yeah, again, going for broadcasting, so this is why I chose this kind of medium in the video presentation, kind of documenting my work. The Fame mural is the only one that I did. I wish I would have done the nights also, and I didn't do anything with Miss Gailey just to respect her privacy while I was
So
cleaning.
this part of the clip is showing some GoPro footage, so kind of like first person view of my art while I'm working on the Fame mural. Um, so a lot of this, it does look very slow and looks very repetitive, but it shows the process. Unlike what most people think, art doesn't just kind of appear on the canvas. It takes multiple steps, which is, I think, another issue that kind of showed up with the work is not everything was happening as fast as you might imagine it too, especially with the murals, because a lot of people I worked with aren't artists, not in the same way. So it makes it harder to show kind of the process, and you got to work through different parts. So I mean, even like here, like you can see I'm going through the crisper lines, but it still looks very messy. This specific mural was a bit more abstract, especially with the fire. But going in with the Fame, like you can see, I'm going in with this is specifically it's like a skinny cap. So the spray paint material itself is, or medium rather, is very very different than what most people work with. But you can see I'm going through, and I mean like right here, like I'm planning out my lines and I'm going through, I'm swiping, getting a nice clean line. But it still looks kind of messy. Like, oh, I didn't fill in that part, but that's because I'm going through and you fill in bits. And like right below the F, there's a weird a line that's in the yellow, into the fire, and that actually was just a mistake on my part. But it's it's a work in progress, and you got to go through multiple times. Like initially, you get your outline, then you do your film, then you do outline again, and little elements. So it is very time consuming, and it looks like you can think like, okay, this looks good, and then you work on the next step, and it kind of looks like you just took 3 steps backwards. But really, when you take that next step forward, it ties it all together again. Um, so it's really just it's a battle that you're fighting the whole way across until it's finally done. Um, but like I said about the spray paint medium, so it's not typical to work with. That's why I'm working with this one outside because it does smell. Um, and then there are different types of cans. So like in Miss Chester's room, I'd worked with water-based spray paints, so they don't smell as bad, but it still is a different type of medium because it comes out wet, but it dries like once it is once the paint is dry, it looks like any sort of dry medium. So you wouldn't think that you need, let's say, like for this, you wouldn't think that you need such a thick canvas, but you do. Furthermore, there's some different types of caps here. So the cap that I'm using here specifically is a really skinny cap, so I'm getting these really clean lines. There's some fat caps, which is kind of how you get your effect. So if you look towards the center of the screen, there's like little like dots, and that's kind of so if you get closer to the canvas, it'll be a smaller dot. If you get farther away, but it's a larger but more like less sharp of a dot, less sharp outline. But that's just kind of how the different caps work and showing how those work, which is really what separates a good artist from a mediocre artist is really the use of those caps and different techniques. And that's something that I achieve. I'm striving for, but it's really not where I'm getting quite yet.